Mr. Wimmer, first of all, the listing of BCR, is this a case closed?
Well, first, thanks for having me on Money Channel. The listing of BCR is not yet a case closed. We have entered into agreements in principle with 4 out of the 5 CIFs. On the part of the CIFs, these agreements in principle have still to be confirmed by corporate action, in most cases a decision, a vote of their general meetings. So we will know by the end of October, I would assume, whether this transaction will go forward and with how many of the CIFs this will go forward. Once this result is known and once this result is positive, then the listing of BCR will be a closed case.
It is necessary just one CIF to go further with this agreement in order to came close to the BCR?
So the existing agreement about sort of the listing conditions says that a listing will be initiated if either all 5 CIFs agree or if 3 CIFs plus Erste Group agree. So if one of the CIFs does a transaction with us, then the first possibility of triggering a listing will not be available anymore, and sort of any listing will be subject to agreement by Erste Group. And Erste Group would agree to a listing only if the listing would be sort of a definite advantage for all parties involved, including BCR.
Now I'd like to ask you, who initiated this kind of agreement? It was Erste who was pushing more, there were the CIFs who were pushing more?
This was very much a decision taken in consensus, and it was actually not Erste Group which started the discussion. And I think it was the natural result of a very sort of adverse market situation at the time, where protecting the interest of all involved parties, CIFs, BCR and Erste Group, was important, and I think it was an agreement which was based on rational considerations and the fact that Erste Group and the CIFs sort of have developed a good working relationship. We have no problem with shareholders towards each other, and in reality it was based on the fact that we had a quite sort of consistent view of what was the best way forward.
In July, Mr. Treichel said that he will do anything he can to prevent the listing of the BCR. Can we read this agreement in terms of this statement?
I think what Mr. Treichel sort of explained was our general philosophy as an investor, that we want to own as much as possible of a bank which is a strategically very important investment.
And not to list these subsidiaries.
And not to list these subsidiaries.
Now, I'd like to ask you, what do you think that will happen in the next time in Romania with the banking system? What are your feelings?
Yeah, I think overall the Romanian banking system is in an extremely stable position. The National Bank is taking a very sort of proactive and hands-on approach. I think has done an extremely good job in ensuring adequate sort of capitalization levels of the banking system, ensuring the liquidity position is sort of held at prudent levels in the banks. So I think Romania is one of the countries in which the banking system does not at all pose sort of a systemic risk. What
about the non-performing loans? Do you think that the peak is ahead of us or is behind of us?
Well, I would think that sort of the peak of new non-performing loan formation is definitely behind us. On the other hand, it is a reality that a broad-based recovery of the Romanian economy is yet to come. There is delay in this recovery compared to other countries in Central and Eastern Europe. But one also has to say that the crisis hit later than in other countries. So at the present stage, sort of Romania is developing somewhat behind the curve.
Are you afraid of the next election year in Romania? We have probably 2 sets of election. Are you afraid that this might postpone a little more the economic recovery?
I think so. These election situations have pros and cons. On the one hand, there is always a danger that governments lose some of the fiscal discipline which is needed in the present circumstances. On the other hand, I would say on a more general level, a higher level of government spending also creates additional demand in the economy. Now, additional demand in the economy would be supportive for an economic recovery. Hopefully, so this additional spending is spent on sort of productive causes.
We are approaching the end of our interview, and now I'd like to go back to the BCR problem. Comparing your experience in other countries of Europe where Erste Bank has a presence, how was the relationship with the minority shareholders in Romania comparing with other countries?
I guess in other countries we have much more limited experience with minority shareholders because minority shareholding positions were very small. BCR is unique in the sense that there are 5 very substantial and important minority shareholders. And we have developed a very sort of close and continuous relationship with them. 2 representatives are on the supervisory board, but we also meet them in very regular intervals to sort of exchange views and keep them up to date. So for me, this is actually a perfect example of how the relationship between a majority shareholder and minorities should work.
What's your message to the CIF's shareholders if they are going to become shareholders of Erste Bank with like 4% of the total?
Well, the one message is that the CIFs as a group will be very important shareholders of Erste Group. So as a group, they will be the 3rd largest shareholder, and therefore they will not be neglected. And secondly, they are buying into a company which sort of offers a much broader set of opportunities. There is a much broader geographical diversity, so we are present and strong in markets which already are so on a strong recovery path. We are strong in a market which is very mature and therefore very stable, which is Austria, but at the same time, the sort of above average growth potential of Romania plays an important role because it is a big market, a big investment in the overall context. So in a certain way, I think for the CIF shareholders, it will actually be the best of both worlds.
Mr. Wimmer, these are all my questions. If you have something else to add for our viewers.
I mean, so just, how to say, a personal note. I mean, I spent a lot of time in Romania. I ran this bank for a while. And I'm a strong believer in Romania and its opportunities in the future.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wimmer, for joining us here at the Money Channel.
Very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.